right, here we go. Welcome back, everybody. Or this is actually the first thing I've done in the year of 2021. We are jumping right back into the Harry Potter book club series, right where we left off, which is book 4, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I feel like every time we sit down to do this, we always come up with the phrase of, oh, at this moment, like this book becomes an adult book and it's getting more serious and more violent. And then
Right.
I mean, up until now, it's like been nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah,
So
last one and then this one goes up even that much more.
even more, and it's never coming back down.
Nice.
So with me, as always, tonight by candlelight, my good friend Johnny Trappe. So we're gonna light these candles and we're gonna hop into the Goblet of Fire, and we'll see where the night takes us.
Let's do it.
Cheers. I need to get some new candles. This one's low.
And mine's getting there.
All right, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. So it's a little bit of a different start. I don't know if the other books have started off-site, and by off-site I mean not directly on Harry. I know like the very first one we start on like Pivot Drive or Privet Drive. But this one we start, it says about 50 years before present day. We get into the Tom Riddle family a little bit. And I know you love Tom Riddle. You think he's an awesome character. Awesome how he's been developed in the past couple of books. But they talk about how the family was mysteriously killed. They mention the groundsman, Frank Bryce, who was suspected and declared innocent. So they don't really know who did it. And they key in a lot on the abandoned Riddle house. And this is kind of where the story starts. It starts back in that abandoned Riddle house. You hear Voldemort talking to Wormtail about killing a boy named Harry Potter. I'm sorry, Frank Bryce is standing there listening to all this happen. Voldemort eventually has somebody kill him, and Harry wakes up from a dream with his scar throbbing right away. So typically the books have started, well, to start like this, like what kind of scene did this set? So immediately it starts with Harry's scar is already hurting him. Voldemort has already not only been in the story, but somebody's already been murdered. So you start this book off like this, and what kind of setup does that have for you?
Big difference, like to start off a Harry Potter book like that, because it's the first time we don't get like some slow build up. It's just a big drop of, oh shit, it's going down.
Yeah, especially starting off with like the whole Riddle family. You don't hear anything about the Riddle family a whole lot. You hear about Tom Riddle being like growing up in an orphanage and stuff like that. But you don't really hear anything about his family, the mysterious murder, things like that. And within the very beginning of the book, somebody's already killed at the hands of Voldemort. So we go from this really dark beginning and we jump right into this great, bubbly, wizarding, awesome Wizard World thing, the Quidditch World Cup. The Weasleys convinced Uncle Vernon Dursley to let Harry go with them to the World Cup. So they take him back to the Burrow. You actually meet Bill and Charlie for the first time, right? The eldest of the Weasley brothers. Is that during this? And they head off to the Quidditch World Cup. So this is the new form of transportation, the port key. I should ask you a quiz question right there. So who do they take the port key with to the Quidditch World Cup?
Oh geez.
You probably read this a long time ago too, the beginning stuff.
Yeah.
So it's the Weasleys, Harry, Hermione. There's 2 other people that meet up with them and take the port key. Harry's first time using a port key. And do you remember what the port key was specifically?
It was like, wasn't it like a piece of trash? I don't know specifically, but it was something that would just blend into the street. Like it's, they're not supposed
that's the idea, right? Of a port key, having something that's generally a standard object. It was a boot. I believe it was a boot.
Like an old boot, yeah.
And it's Cedric Diggory and his father. Those are the people that meet up with him. You meet Cedric Diggory for the first time. Yeah. Cedric Diggory is an awesome character. This is his first jumping into it. The Quidditch World Cup is. Talk to me about your experience with the Quidditch World Cup. You love Quidditch. You've talked about this pretty much every book. You love the whole Quidditch scene. So now you get a first professional sports league within the Wizarding world, right?
Right. Yeah. It's pretty cool. Like just describing like the experience of it, how much of a higher level it seemed than just Hogwarts Quidditch. Um,
And also you have like
all
different
the
countries.
different countries. There's tons of people there. It's like the scale of it was really cool to see.
Yeah. I like
Like Olympics vibes.
right. I like how it's called the World Cup. It resembles a lot like the FIFA World Cup with the different countries, how crazy the fans are, how many people are there to involved. It's pretty much like there's so many people there. A couple weird things happen at the Quidditch World Cup before we get into the craziness. You meet do you remember the name of the house elf they meet at the Quidditch World Cup?
Winky?
Yes, Winky. And do you remember who the master of Winky was?
Crouch?
Crouch, yes. So they meet Winky. She's saving a seat for her master. And then the Quidditch World Cup. Do you remember the two teams that were playing in the Quidditch World Cup game they went to?
I don't know names, but I know Victor Crumb is in it. He's on the team, and he's in it.
Yeah, Victor Crumb is the Bulgarian seeker.
Bulgaria.
And it's Ireland versus Bulgaria. Harry's a big Bulgaria fan. Most of the Weasleys are big Irish fans. So this is the night after the game is a really, really, really crazy, really, really intense, awesome scene. This is when the crowd of Death Eaters levitate 4 Muggles right up in the air, torturing them. Mass chaos breaks out. Harry and Hermione flee to the woods. Harry finds out that his wand is missing. I feel like in all of these situations, Harry's always missing his wand, or something always like falls out of his pocket. Somebody fires the dark mark up into the sky. And as it's all kind of resolved, they find Winky, the freaking house elf, standing in the middle of the field or the forest, whatever, holding the wand that fired off the dark mark. Take me through that scenario as you're reading it. Did you think, I don't even know, I don't even want to ask specific questions. Just take me through that scene.
That was intense. Just the writing was good, like just setting the scene of panic and chaos. Everyone's running, bumping into each other, running in different directions. And then I had no idea. I mean, you find out this dark mark is displayed, which has not been displayed in a long time. Obviously, it's a very big, significant, scary thing. I had no idea who did it or who's involved.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't know who any of the Death Eaters are. So
there's
kind of up in the air. Yeah.
A ton of unknown. It's I like how it's kind of resembled as like a terrorist attack, in the same kind of manner, especially like the reaction from the people. It's very like when a terrorist attack situation, and even like the whole dark mark thing. Just thinking about like all the like war movies and TV shows you watch, like there's a bad guy who's the head of the terrorist group. He always has like a mark that he leaves or like his initials or something like that.
Yeah.
This is essentially the same exact thing, except freaking wizards and spells and wild shit. New things at school. Dumbledore mentions the Triwizard Tournament, which is the biggest part of the whole book, right? Mad-Eye Moody is brought into the story. Mad-Eye Moody will be the new teacher of the Defense Against the Dark Arts. This isn't the first time you hear about Mad-Eye Moody, though, in this book. Earlier, Cedric Diggory's dad is talking to Arthur Weasley and the gang about Mad-Eye Moody attacked an intruder at his house. That's the first time you kind of hear about Mad-Eye Moody, which is one of those things that happens throughout these books. There's like a small, seemingly unimportant detail that's mentioned about like a character or something that they kind of just glance over that like comes back and is some huge crazy thing. So Mad-Eye Moody is the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. I'm sure by now you've noticed that every year at Hogwarts there is a new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, which is just a funny little thing that keeps happening. Mm-hmm. So what does Mad-Eye do in one of their first classes? He teaches them what?
So then you start jumping right into forbidden curses.
Yeah, there's 3 unforgettable curses. Can you name them?
Oh God.
Or
Crucio,
at least describe. Crucio is one. Or at least
Crucio,
describe what they do.
Avada,
You know, one of them, Vada
Crucio,
Kedavra, is the obvious one.
Avada Kedavra kills. Crucio just kind of like stuns, like
Crucio is like a
like
torture.
like yeah, just pain. Like
Yeah, it's a
and then
torturous spell.
is it stupefy? No, that's
Stupefy is, if I stupefied you, you would stop. The third one is Imperious.
yeah.
Imperio. It's the you can like control somebody's actions and stuff, which is
Uh,
crazy because you can pretty much make somebody do something.
right.
All right, so later in the school year, we have the beginning of the Triwizard Tournament. The delegates from, I don't know how to, I know Durmstrang, Durmstrang School is where Victor Crumb goes. Beaubaton, I think it is where all the hot
Mhm.
chicks are.
Yep.
All like the fairies.
Fleur.
Um, so this is, up to this point, have we heard mention of another school outside of Hogwarts? Like, is this
Not
their first time
not
being
by
like, oh wow, there's other schools?
not by name, but I think they have briefly talked about. We're not the only
Yes.
school, but
Yeah. So it's pretty cool now that you get different wizards and witches from different parts of the world coming with
Mhm.
different, just pretty much different everything, right?
Right.
Um, so you have, this is why this book is so awesome. You have the Quidditch World Cup where it opens up the entire world into like into what you've been looking at, what you've been viewing through these books with the whole Ireland versus Bulgaria, so on and so on. And now you get 2 completely different schools from different areas traveling to take part in this Triwizard Tournament. Champions are selected. Can you name the 4 champions that are selected?
Victor Crumb, Fleur Delacour,
Nice, very good.
and Cedric Diggory, and Harry Potter.
And of course, Harry Potter. So when Harry Potter was selected, what was your thoughts behind that? How did you think that kind of happened? Did you have any idea?
I didn't know how. I kind of figured it was going to happen somehow.
Somehow he was going to
It's
get
like,
thrown into that.
yeah, but there's like a magical age barrier. You can't put
Friend
your name
George
in
tried to
it.
hop it.
Right. So I was shocked that it could happen. They decided to just keep it going with 4 instead of 3, which is interesting. Like,
I don't. So like, they have that discussion, and like, 3 heads of school and Barty Crouch and everybody there associated with are like, well, rules are rules. Like, if he's selected, he's selected, as if there's like some magical like being like enforcing the rules that they can't just be like, oh, he's underage, like he can't do it. Talk to me about Rita Skeeter. Rita Skeeter is, although the worst, is a very cool character in like Conception, about like how absolutely annoying she is and terrible, but like it's a fun, annoying twist. So talk to me about Rita Skeeter a little bit.
yeah, just another day-to-day enemy that they get, causing drama outside of school. Kind of
Yeah,
make
into the public, really.
it's just
Her
so tabloid and so
exactly.
literally tabloid. Like,
It's like a parody on like the actual real magazines and people who cover like entertainment people. But her little like pen thing that writes is freaking sweet. First task coming up. Hagrid takes Harry to view the dragons in the Forbidden Forest to give him a little bit heads up of what's going on. Harry goes back to the Gryffindor common room and talks to Sirius through the fireplace. How wild was that? Has he done that before? That was the first time, right?
yeah, I think so. Just
Yeah. How could you imagine like talking to somebody like that? Sirius warns him about Karkaroff, who is the head of Durmstrang, who was once a Death Eater. And as you probably can figure out, once a Death Eater, always a Death Eater most of the time. He talks about Moody a little bit, being like the greatest Auror of all time, or being somebody who catches like dark wizards and such. And he kind of mentions to Harry like there's probably a bigger reason as to why Moody's Moody is selected to be a teacher at Hogwarts. So that gets the wheels start churning a little bit, like what is going on? So the first task is they have these dragons come in, and they pretty much have to do whatever they can to get a golden egg from behind the dragon. So if you're going into this task, what would be your method of attack? How would you get past the dragon?
I don't know. Maybe distraction. Attention over here. Attention on the right. I go left. I don't know.
So you have a dragon in front of you, and you're gonna play like the whole, oh, look at that over there, and hope he looks, and then just sneak by.
Some crazy.
I'm sure that would go very well for you. Very well. So you get, the first time you get a look inside like the kitchens of Hogwarts, and the house elves are there. Dobby is down there. He's free. He's working down there. Winky's down there. Winky kind of sucks and is kind of like super miserable and shitty the whole time. But how cool was that whole scene in like the kitchens and stuff?
Yeah. It made a lot of sense. Like, you always wondered, where do these luxurious dinners and meals come from? Just on a blink of an eye. But we know that house elves can do a little bit of magic, so it kind of makes sense that and that would be where it comes from. But super cool. I love the house elves.
It was just a cool thing. It was probably something that didn't have to happen. I think it, like, as a reader, you're okay assuming that stuff just magically appears.
That whole arc too, where Hermione's like campaigning for the house elves to be free.
Yep.
Again, just kind of mimicking the real world of, like, people campaigning for whatever they're trying to change. I don't know.
Yule Ball is next. The Yule Ball. This was kind of like, what age are they how old are they during this? All right, so they are about 14. Yeah, as you said, I think in the Goblet of Fire. So 14 is what, like freshman in high school?
Yeah.
So equate this to like your homecoming, your freshman year homecoming. But in the Wizarding world.
Definitely get that vibe of like everybody.
Definitely super awkward. All the young kids don't know what to do.
Asking. Yeah.
Dude, good times, man. Good times. Harry gets, well, throughout this whole book, actually, Harry's crushing on this girl, Cho, over in Ravenclaw. But Harry wants to ask Cho. She's going with Cedric, which is just a dagger, an absolute dagger. Because A, heartbreak for Harry, but B, like, you love Cedric. Like, Cedric's awesome. So it's like, if it's going to be anybody, let it be Cedric. And who does Harry and Ron end up taking to the Yule Ball?
Two random Ravenclaws, I think.
But the Patel twins.
Okay. Oh yeah, they're twins. Okay.
The Indian girls. And then Hermione ends up going with Victor Crumb, which is, dude, I mean,
right.
Victor Crumb's like a professional star athlete, and he's like 17 or something. I think the limit to be in the Goblet of Fire is 17, so he's got to be like 17. She's 3 years younger than him.
Bad look for Hermione. Going with the celebrity.
So, but like if you again equate this to like us, that would be like pretty much a senior asking a freshman to homecoming, which is like, especially if you were like a professional athlete. I don't know about that, man. Whatever. To each his own, I guess. To each his own. This is when you also learn a little bit about Hagrid being a half giant, which is a cool little backstory to Hagrid. All right, so the second task revolves around this golden egg. Harry doesn't know what to do with this egg. When you open it, it makes like a crazy noise, and Cedric eventually tells him to pretty much go up to the creepy Moaning Myrtle's bathroom, flood it, and kind of hang out in it. And then it sings a song from the mer people in the lake around the school.
So it's cool to see that arc through the book is Harry and Cedric's friendship, because they start to gain some trust throughout the thing, even though they're going against each other. Harry learns what the first task is, and then in the second task, I think they repay the favor. by
Yeah,
telling,
Cedric repays the favor. Yeah.
yeah, who pays the favors.
Cedric's awesome. He's an awesome dude. His dad seems like a pretty nice dude too. Um, it's cool. Yeah, like you said, it's cool that they had that small little relationship from the Quidditch World Cup experience. It probably would have been a lot different. And even like at school, like all the kids are like shitting on Harry the whole time, and Cedric's kind of being like, "I'm sorry, dude. Like it sucks."
Right.
The kind of a weird thing happens right after Harry finds out about the singing in the egg. He gets caught by Filch and Snape after I think he like drops the egg in the hallway or something. Moody appears, kind of shoos them off, and then Moody asks him to like borrow the Marauders map, which is kind of weird. So, what were you thinking when that happened? Moody was getting a little like kind of
Yeah,
sketchy.
a little testy.
Yeah, did you pick up on that? Like, did you?
Did
Everybody's been talking about him.
I did I did, but at that point, I'm still thinking that like it's all just talk, like because Mad Eye Moody seems to be caring and helping Harry this
Right,
whole
a
time,
lot.
being a
Yeah.
genuine, nice, helpful person. So I just think that the talk is just exaggerated, bad talk, which happens. But um, that was starting to like get across the line of like I'm helping you, but I'm also like taking away something that's super useful. And
It's also just like, why do you want it? And I think it's cool, like when there's new characters introduced in the books, like, and you're not completely sure who they are. J.K. Rowling always throws in like these little twists to like keep you on your toes, kind of. Like Mad Eye, like you said, the whole time he's always helping Harry. He's really cool to him in class. Helps him with all the Triwizard Tournament stuff, and then he again even gets him out of trouble, and then kind of takes the Marauders map, which is like a very sketchy tool in itself.
right.
Um, obviously, showing where everybody is in the school and everything. So the second task Harry figures out is having to do with being underwater, right, with the mer people. Who gives Harry the gillyweed to help him breathe underwater?
Dobby.
Dobby. Did you have any idea where the hell Dobby would have either got the idea or the gillyweed from? Did
Not
you even
the
really think about that?
not the idea, but I didn't. I thought it would have came from herbology, like it's a plant, gillyweed.
Yeah, interestingly enough, in the movie, it's actually Neville. I don't know why they do this in the movie, but it's Neville who gives Harry the gillyweed, which is like totally different.
He's also like a vulnerable, impressionable
Sure,
person.
I guess that's a good point. Somebody could kind of manipulate him a little bit. So take me through the second task of them down in the water. What about just talk to me. Talk to me about it.
That was I didn't know what that was about. I didn't know the like. Did they know the purpose?
Um,
Did
I
they?
believe
Because
they
they
were
tell them
told
that.
something important to them was stolen.
Oh, they didn't tell them what it was,
I
and then
don't think they knew it was like physical people at first,
they get
which
down
is
there and they're just like
crazy.
people. I'm like, wait, what? Like, but they claimed no one was ever really in danger. But
Which I don't think
wasn't
is
expecting that. Like the dragon one was straightforward. This one was kind of like throwing them in the dark water, literally. And then I like that they just kind of have to figure it out on the fly. And then very appreciative of Harry's honorable act of staying behind and trying to rescue everybody. He
mm.
didn't need to, and sacrificing some points for that.
So what is let me ask you this question again. So task 2, you're faced with this task. You need to breathe underwater. You're in this hypothetical, you're a wizard, so you can pretty much do anything. So what would be your first idea? I think
Uh,
mine would probably be having I assume my first thought would be like I need gills.
right. Yeah. I guess yeah, that's like the best option because that's like
It's the
unlimited.
most plausible,
Yeah,
like
because
the most realistic.
one of them put a bubble around their head or something.
Floor does a bubble. Victor Crumb, I think, turns his head to turns like a shark or something. Like his head's a shark, which
The bubble works, but it's not. It's just gonna run out of air eventually. So.
or like if it gets popped.
Right.
After the task, second task, let's talk about the moment where Harry hears Karkaroff talking to Snape about something on his arm. There's just a whole dark, ominous thing in the background, like the whole time, surrounding Voldemort and like these Death Eaters, but you don't really understand what's happening or really what's going on outside in the world. Obviously, the Death Eaters came during the Quidditch World Cup, but after that, it was more of people just kind of talking about it. Obviously, this Karkaroff character is like a super sketchy, also just weird vibes, just
There's a lot
weird vibes.
of question marks around a lot of these
A
people.
lot of questions marks and Mad Eye for
And
some respect too.
It just makes so much sense and comparable to like real world stuff. Like when there's a lot of parties involved in something, it's very easy for there to be some crooked people on the good side. So
Sure,
if
absolutely.
you don't know who to point fingers at, that's why I think it was very well written that way. Like you want to point a finger, but you don't know who. Some people sound more sketchy this chapter, and then other people come up and they're like, they're sketchy. And the other person seems innocent. It's like, whoa. And then the whole time, we're almost like Sirius in this whole book. I feel like Sirius is like laying back because he doesn't
Kind of
want to.
watching it unfold.
Yeah, and just constantly warning Harry, like, keep your eye out, keep your eye out, keep your
Yeah,
eye
well,
out.
great transition by you because right after this is when they meet Sirius as Padfoot in Hogsmeade, and he talks about Mr. Crouch's son, Barty Crouch Jr., being a Death Eater, which is really wild.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Crouch being the Minister of Magic, and then they talk about how Winky was like alone up in the box at the Quidditch World Cup. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on with the Crouch family. Let's talk about this scene. Harry's up in Dumbledore's office, and he kind of slips and peers into the pensieve. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah, I think it's
Pensieve, which is like Dumbledore's like memory catcher.
super cool. I wish I had.
Oh my god,
I forget stuff all the time.
it is one of the coolest things in the whole series from a magic standpoint. Unbelievable. Super, super useful. The memory is of Karkaroff.
I like that, Harry goes into it and he's like living the scene.
He's in it. Yeah, he's literally in it. Such a cool idea. But they're in the courtroom. Karkaroff's snitching left and right on all these Death Eaters. And then he hits them with the big one, which was Mr. Crouch's son, Barty, which is a huge shock. When you're hearing all this, what do you even make of it? Like, you don't know the Crouches a whole lot. You know, Mr. Crouch is a minister of magic. Like, what do you think about when you're hearing all this weird stuff about them?
Now I'm starting to think that the whole family's involved.
Oh, so you're right. When you heard that, you thought the minister of magic might be bad in some way.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
I didn't think because just the way it came off, I didn't think Karkaroff was lying.
Didn't seem like it.
So I was like, oh snap, maybe the Crouches are, similar to Malfoys. Like they're just all up to no good.
Wow, that would have been interesting if Barty Crouch, if the Minister of Magic was found out to be
right.
a two-side son of a gun. Third and final task is the maze. So let's go dive into the third task a little bit. Fleur and Crumb are out. It's pretty much down to Harry and Cedric. They both get to the trophy at the same time. Like you mentioned before, at this point, Harry and Cedric are not like boys, but like there's clear a big mutual respect and like
it's just a civil agreement.
Yeah, they like each other. They're bros a little bit. So they grab the trophy at the same time, which is pretty cool. And then you find out that the trophy is like the old boot, a port key. So the port key comes into a old house in a graveyard. Did you know where you were at first when they first get there?
No. That whole scene was just, even before we get to the
off
scene,
the walls.
it's like when they grab the thing and something weird happens. I'm like, instantly I'm thrown off. I'm like, wait, what? Where are they going? Um, and then it kind of, because like in the beginning when they're talking about Porkies, I'm like, okay, just another former child, no big deal.
Just
And
a
then
little detail thrown in
it's
there,
coming back and in that kind of way. And I was like, oh snap. And I knew something had to happen in this third event because, there's threats against Harry this whole time. Nothing happened in 1 and 2. So, but I didn't expect that. And then they appear in this graveyard. No, I have no idea what's going on. I don't know where they are.
You don't see this often in like storytelling as a whole. Like they get there and then they see like somebody, and Cedric's killed like immediately. Like he doesn't, like they do nothing. He's just like pretty much immediately killed. And you rarely see that because Cedric is up until now like a pretty huge character in the whole story. And then it's like boom, he has like he's useless. Like
Yeah,
has
the
nothing
first
to do with the story.
like I mean it is besides, and this is the first main character dying that we see, and like so the notches go way up in this.
Not just that, it's also a kid, like a student,
innocent,
really nice guy.
cold-blooded, and that's where you really start to see how dangerous Baltimore is and his followers, because it wasn't Baltimore that did it. It was Wormtail who killed
I was just gonna ask who was the guy who actually killed Cedric. Can you walk me through the series of events that follows? Wormtail kills Cedric, and then what happens? Do you remember how Voldemort kind of comes back to life?
Yeah, so there's this. He's holding like a little weak being.
Yeah, some sort of like
speaking to
big
him.
Baby type thing.
Yeah, he's speaking to him. He's saying, "You got to perform like this ritual," and just the whole thing is so like occult vibes. Like it's dark.
Yeah,
it's so well written. Like it is like demonic kind of thing. And so then I know the ritual kind of is he needs to put in his flesh of an ally, the blood of or the bone of, I don't know, family or blood. How does that work? The bone of something.
Yeah. So it's I think it's ashes from Voldemort's dad,
Right.
Mr. Riddle.
Mm-hmm. And then blood from your enemy, which they get from Harry, and he dumps all that in. Meanwhile, Wormtail again shows his devotion to Voldemort because he literally has to chop off his own arm.
Wormtail sucks, but the dude is useful.
He's committed for sure.
He's committed.
And then, dude, that scene though, where he just like stands up out of the cauldron in full form, that was like, yo.
And then the Death Eaters start like he hits, I think, Wormtail's mark, and then all the Death Eaters just like pop in like around them in a circle.
Yeah.
I love this because it takes me back to early in Hogwarts, and even throughout this book a little bit, but I really like how the Wizarding world in like Harry Potter is more spells and crazy stuff going on and like magical things. And I really like when J.K. Rowling takes it back to like what we think of like wizards and witches, which is like potions and cauldrons and like smoke coming out of stuff and throwing in like fish eyes and frog legs into stuff. And I like the moments where she kind of brings that to the forefront, like this, like him coming out of a cauldron and pretty much Wormtail making some sort of spell in this big vat with all these crazy ingredients, and then
ritualistic
comes out of it. Yeah, like exactly like a ritual thing that a lot of like the old Halloween movies and things like that have involved with witches.
Like when he sets off the mark and all of them start getting just apparating and summoning to the spot. It's like, damn.
It's a different kind of literally so many different kinds of magic going on in this one scene. It's super scary and it's just super wild.
You hear like talk about the dark magic and the dark, this dark magic and forbidden spells, but like you really see it come to life
and
here.
it's
Like
wild.
now you understand. Well, that's why it's banned. That's why it's not literally illegal. But
Yeah, like the calling those three curses the unforgivable curses is like the most perfectly named thing. So a duel breaks out. Voldemort and Harry. Voldemort, of course, abracadabras. Harry uses the one freaking spell he knows. This is Expelliarmus. So the two spells kind of hit each other, and they're going kind of back and forth, and they're not really losing connection, right? And what happens? What comes out of this connection between their two spells?
well, talk about that. I was kind of confused in this part because I'm like, Avada Kedavra is the top dog, like the big one, and Harry just uses a disarm.
Yeah, Expelliarmus.
So how I didn't really understand how they were even competing.
Good question. Here's your answer. So you find another connection between Harry and Voldemort, which is
Oh,
their
wand.
wands are made from feathers from the same exact phoenix. So their wands themselves have a little connection. When
You
you
don't
go
learn about
back,
that until like the very very end. Wow,
right? Dumbledore explains that to Harry in like
that's why I
one of
was
the last
confused.
scenes.
But yeah. So anyway, to answer your question, comes out of it is Harry pushes back against Voldemort's spell. He goes into his wand. They kind of like rebound off of each other. But kind of is that when this like the spirit
Yeah. So souls Voldemort has killed come out of the
the
spell.
last few people that he's killed, not all of them, but the last
Right.
few
I think there's
come out.
Harry's parents and Cedric. I know Cedric comes out and Harry's parents come out. I don't.
There's a fourth. There's the fourth one was the old guy in the beginning.
Right. Frank Bryce.
Yeah.
Frank Bryce.
And yeah, that was wild too.
So back to the wand real quick. So yeah, both of their wands are made from a feather from the same phoenix. If you remember back in book 1 when Harry goes to Ollivander's to get his first wand, Ollivander has that moment when they're trying out and Ollivander's like curious or something like that. And he takes like this moment and he hands Harry the wand and he's like, this is he I think he says it. He says like you're the brother or the sister of this wand belongs to the person who gave you that scar. So that was kind of a foreshadowing to this moment now where there's this huge kind of explosion with their two spells, and you've never seen this up until now, right? You've never seen a duel end like this or have this in it. So it's a pretty crazy moment. Cedric asked Harry to take his body back.
Spells could just meet in midair. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, hell yeah. What a moment that is.
I do have a question about this scene. I was confused when I was reading it. So the Death Eaters are in a circle. There's some gaps because not everyone's there. But Voldemort's going around the circle and like talking to each one. He mentions Lucius, who, big surprise. It's not shocked at all that he's involved.
Right.
But then he turns and he's talking to two people and he says Crabbe and Goyle. And is that like the parents or is that the actual?
Yeah.
I was gonna say no, that's not the kids. So
no, it's not the kids.
Point, I thought that was their first names, but they just go by their last name.
Those are their last names. Yeah. It explains why the three of them are like inseparable at school, like the three kids. It's also crazy that there's not only one parent of a student at Hogwarts who's a Death Eater, but there's more than one. There's at least 3 that you know of at this moment. Imagine like 3 kids you know from your high school whose parents are like freaking terrorists or like, something crazy. Like it's just wild to think about. Harry takes Cedric's body back, which is a really emotional, crazy scene. Harry's yelling, he's back. It's like freaking the boy who cries wolf. Everybody's like, yeah, okay, dude. Moody takes Harry back to the castle. Now this is when Moody gets sketchier than beyond sketchy. Moody's been helping Harry throughout this whole thing, trying to get him to win overall for this exact moment. It's like this was the plan the whole time. A pretty intense and like this plan was not a great plan. He could have died at any second. The dragon could have killed him. He could have died in the water. He could have died in the maze. Like there had to have been a better plan for Voldemort to get Harry in his presence. That's just me. I guess he needed to get him to the house, but still, like he could have died at any second. And then Moody's about to kill Harry. Dumbledore, I think Snape and I think McGonagall come in. Boom. And now you learn that Moody has been drinking Polyjuice Potion the whole time and that he is in fact Barty Crouch Jr. There was no way that you had any inclination that this was going on, right? So what was like your first, I mean, I can only imagine you reading this and being like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that conversation between Moody and Harry, I'm like, okay, it's happened before where somebody close to Harry's kind of turned on him. So I thought it was just another one. Mad-Eye Moody's bad guy. Made sense because everyone's kind of like afraid of him just because he looks crazy. But
And he's a sketchy character, yeah.
yeah, so I definitely didn't think that it was just somebody else pretending to be him. But then it kind of connected all these dots.
So many dots. He's always drinking like something weird. Nobody knows what he's doing. Why is he helping Harry in the first place?
The only way that Krause would have been able to been so close to Harry during all this. So, yeah, shocking for sure.
Absolute shocking. So the very end of the book, the conversation we had earlier, Dumbledore explains to Harry about the two feathers from the same phoenix and their wands and how the whole spell thing was happening. The book ends in an interesting way. So you hear Cornelius Fudge and Dumbledore arguing, or Harry overhears them arguing. Dumbledore is warning Cornelius Fudge, pretty much saying like, hey, Voldemort's back. Like we need to, like this is happening. Okay, like we can't avoid this is happening anymore. Cornelius Fudge is like, you got no proof. Like, I'm not listening to this, whatever Harry has to say, who's pretty much the only witness because Cedric's dead, right? This is a crazy moment because you kind of see Dumbledore as like a invincible character. I know he's gotten in some rifts with some people in the past, like the whole thing with Buckbeak and like that whole situation with Cornelius Fudge. But now you see that, especially concerning with Voldemort, like a so obvious problem that needs to be solved, and Dumbledore's pleading his case, and Cornelius Fudge just completely rejects him.
Yeah,
And that was a super eye-opening thing to me because in my mind, the whole wizarding world was like, Dumbledore is the greatest wizard ever. Like anything he says, we should listen to. And this is pretty much like the whole entire wizarding government taking like the most experienced, best wizard and being like, nah, dude. And on top of that all, he's talking about like the absolute worst possible thing. And they don't even give him the time of day. Taking that a step further, I do really like how Dumbledore was talking to the whole school and was like, pretty much like, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but I'm going to anyways. Explains to them that Voldemort is back and that he killed Cedric. So
he pretty much like assembles his own team and he's like, we're going to have to do something about this ourselves. Nobody else believes us.
Yeah. So now we have setting up the scene for like the next book and the books to come. We have Dumbledore at his position of power and what he has to do that he thinks is the right thing to do. And he has people who will follow him and he has people who will oppose him. So now you're seeing kind of a dividing line.
Almost like vigilantes because they're not technically authority.
Right. I mean, he's a headmaster of a school.
Yeah. Snape like reveals that he has a dark mark and he used to be a Death Eater. So that's like how he was trying to help Dumbledore prove his case. He's like, look, the mark went off. Like I have it's black on my arm right now.
Yeah.
And he still didn't want to buy it. Like, dude, come on.
Yeah, so let's talk about Snape a little bit. You get all that in the conversation with Dumbledore. You also, I believe, in the memory with in the courtroom with Karkaroff, I believe he mentions Severus Snape as somebody who used to be a Death Eater, and Dumbledore immediately stands up and he's like, "We've talked about this before. Like he's pledges alliance. Like I trust him," and they pretty much are like, "Yeah, we're cool with that." But that was a pretty shocking little tidbit right there. You know, Snape sucks and he's evil and he's like the worst dude, but to be that extreme, I think is something you don't expect. Also, to Dumbledore to trust him and for Dumbledore to allow him to be a teacher in the school after knowing that.
I kind of want to know that transition of when and why did he switch sides?
So overall, what would you rate this book out of? I don't even remember how we're doing the grading scale anymore. I feel like we flip back and forth a lot. But how many broomsticks would you give this book?
I usually just do 1 out of 5. I rated this one a 4 out of 5.
Well done, Harry. Well done.
And why is it a 4 out of 5?
Well, honestly, it's gonna be like in the beginning. Honestly, it was probably I was like, this is gonna be a 3, like lower. I don't know. I know it's like you're one of your favorites, right?
My favorite is Azkaban.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I'm thinking. I was like, I'm just not into it. To be honest, I didn't really buy this whole Triwizard tournament thing. Just kind of seemed too random. Didn't really get it. But as I read it, it grew on me. And the concept made more sense and flowed well. And then that ending brought the rating up. So
I think what this book does, it sets a broader scene of like the whole series and introduces a lot more of the whole world.
I do love that about it too. Like up to that point, the Wizarding World's this big, and then it just there's whole sports leagues, there's other countries, there's people speaking different languages doing this.
Can you think of any reason as to why this book would be such an obvious transition from this small circle to a bigger circle?
What do you mean?
Like why do you think what do you think the reasoning was to introduce all of this broader scale all in one book?
Well, hopefully they start assembling like an Avengers team, just like recruiting people from outside of their own little bubble. Like I want to see some Durmstrang heroes come back. I want to see just other great, because there's got to be other great wizards out there. They're not all at Hogwarts. They're not all in the government. So hopefully that's kind of why they're broadening the scope. Is Voldemort's plan is to like annihilate everybody. So they're gonna need everybody to battle that.
Yeah, that's more the point I was getting at. Voldemort's back. You know what his plan is. His plan is to pretty much
a grander scale than Hogwarts and Harry. Like
exactly. Yeah, exactly. This book really sets the scene up to this evil being that's coming in to take over more than just Harry and Hogwarts and the little world. He's trying to take over pretty much everything, right? He wants wizards to be more powerful than all the Muggles all around. So this is like a worldly issue. And I think this book is a nice little transition into getting to that place. So that's pretty much it. We just went through the whole book, in like an hour, which was pretty quick, but also not bad. Is your candle still lit?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. Cheers. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Cheers.
Order the Phoenix coming up next. Trappe. Ooh, got a couple sparks. R.I.P. Cedric Diggory.
Yep.